You're listening to the Vent Podcast, where we bring you interviews and stories from around the world of wine and spirits. From winemakers and critics to sommeliers and master distillers, we'll explore the people and businesses who are instrumental in shaping the future of today's food and drinks culture. Enjoy the show. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Vent Podcast. My name is Billy Galenko, and we have a very rare double interview episode for you all today. We actually have two former NBA champions coming on the podcast. One is Tony Parker. The next is Channing Frye. Now, the reason we have two of these on, one, I thought it was very timely with the NBA playoffs about to start. But two, we were lucky enough recently to have Tony Parker on the podcast. He came on to talk about his work with Mascaronne and Maison champagne. And while we had a great conversation, we only had a little bit of his time. So we had a great shorter conversation, and it really got me thinking about how to share more of this love of these NBA players have of their wine. And it made me think about over 2 years ago, our episode 18, over 100 episodes ago, our interview with Channing Frye. And the through lines between these two interviews were very similar. Both of them have such a passion for wine. And it was really interesting to hear more about how Tony kind of grew up drinking wine with his family with a more European influence. Channing came about it a little bit more in a different way. Both of them have a lot of passion for the projects that they're involved with. So I thought it would be a really cool back-to-back episode. So we have Tony on the front. We had a very quick conversation. So we were able to get about 20 minutes in. We really covered the ins and outs of first Mascaronne, which is a Provence-based winery. They have amazing rosés, but they also make some red wines. I kept wanting to talk about the red wines, but if you look into their whole portfolio, they have an amazing portfolio of not only rosé wines that are regularly scoring over 90 points from major publications like James Suckling and Robert Parker, but they also have standout white wines as well as the red wines. And like I said, I kept leaning into talking about the red wines because when I visited Provence last year, I got really into the red wines. But what we really leaned into it is their approach to being biologique, as they call it in French, being very focused on using similarly organic and farming methods that would really allow the terroir to really speak through. And I think a lot of people, and Tony talks about it a little bit too, need to understand that Provence, while it's in its recent times, the rosé has seemed to be like a stylish thing. There's a reason rosé has been made there for so long, and they have really quality, complex wines that come through with great minerality, and they have the ability to age. And he's talking about how they're going to be making some cuvées that are not only meant to drink young, but are meant to mature and develop. So that was a really excellent conversation. It was cool to pick his brain on what he thought La Mascaronne was going and his favorite wines from the area. And then we also got to touch on another project that he's involved with, or another winery, not necessarily a project, called Maison. I kept wanting to say Gipper with a crappy American French accent, but he actually corrected me and then let me know that it was pronounced Jeeper because after World War II, the owner was able to get a Jeep, and that helped him drive around his property, explore the vineyards that he wanted to work with, and really was the foundational element of the vineyard that he ended up growing and building a whole wine brand off of. So that was really exciting. It was a really fascinating conversation, and we really got into a lot of what goes in to make each of these houses special and why they drew Tony to be a part of these brands. And then following that, we have a great conversation. It was a longer conversation. It's from 2 years ago with Channing Frye and his co-owner, Jacob Gray. This conversation spans a lot of topics. It really goes into what they're trying to do with their brand, Chosen Family Wines. Since we've had them on the podcast, the brand has grown immensely. We've actually gone and tasted with them in Oregon. We had a great time up there. We actually got to crack a bottle of DRC and taste along some of their wines, which was a great experience. I really enjoy their portfolio, and they also do some great partnerships with producers up and down, both in the Willamette and in Sonoma and other places in the US as well. Without any further ado, we'll begin with Tony Parker. Hi, Tony. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I think everybody is familiar with kind of your story, obviously, and your time in the NBA and also your kind of love of wine overall. But could you provide us with just a little bit of background on how your passion evolved into a business interest as well?
Yeah, I always loved wine. Obviously, I grew up in France and I discovered wine when I was like 17 years old.
Hmm.
And I was very lucky to have a family who educated me in wine. And that's how I started. 2 years after I was in MBA and I was able to afford the good ones. And then over the years, I will organize dinners at my house with a famous castle. I will do a dinner at my house, and then the next day I will invite them to a Spurs game.
Hmm.
And then in the summer, I will go on the road and go meet them at different castles in Bordeaux or Bourgogne and develop relationship with them and work on my allocation to make sure that I have great wine, but at the same time build our relationship. And over the years, 20 years, build a great relationship in this world. And I always loved the way it works. It's great stories, great families, and it's so passionate about wine. And yeah, I just love to eat. And so when you eat, I want to make sure I drink some good wine. And I always do that after my career, and that's
Hmm.
what I decided to do. And when I decided to retire, I looked into different way to invest in wine, and I was very lucky and blessed to meet Monsieur Rebier, Michel Rebier, who's the owner of Cos, who's one of the best red wine in the world. And after 8 months talking together, he gave me opportunity to invest because it's hard to invest in the good ones because either it stays in the family
Hmm.
or the big companies like LVMH or Pernod Ricard, they buy right away. So I was very lucky to meet Michel Rebier, and he gave me the opportunity to invest in some of his stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to be talking about two of those investments here, Chateau La Mascaronne and
Yes.
Gipel. Was it just a matter of meeting him and learning more about what he was offering an opportunity in or what he was interested in, or did you have an interest in champagne and the wines of Provence already as well?
I always loved the wine from Provence and Champagne already, but the thing that happened with him is we met through mutual friends, and he used to own the basketball team that I own now, and
Oh,
so we got connected with sports, and then he involved into all those discussions like why not do business together, invest, and all that kind of stuff. We were just lucky that we came from the same region in the sports, and so that's why we had a lot of ways to connect and to talk, and so that's how I started.
interesting. So do you aside from just like financially being involved, do you go to the winery? Do you get your hands dirty at all at
Ah,
any
of
point?
course, of course. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the deal. It's like, okay, invest, but be the ambassador. But at the same time, I wanted to go see every areas of that business. So he gave me the opportunity to go and go to the vineyards, do the harvest, and be with the team, and that was a great experience. To do the famous lunch now, it's been 3 years that I do the famous end of harvest lunch
Yeah.
and meet the people. Then work with the director when they do the tasting. They do the tasting and they try
Hmm.
every parcels, and
Like
so
the
we
blending,
try
yeah.
to make the wine basically. So I was there with the director of Cos and of course Natalie, the director in La Mascaronne. And no, it is a great experience. He basically took me under his wing and showed me every aspect of the business.
How has this is something that it deepened for me is when I could read about wine, I could even drink a lot of nice wines, but once I was able to go work a vintage or get more of those behind the scenes views, I really started appreciating not just the wine I was helping make, but all wines in general a little bit more. Have you found
For
that?
sure. Yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. You work on your palate and you try different stuff. And being around this world now for 3, 4 years full time, you definitely. I will never like try to be like I'm like a like a sommelier, but you definitely have a better knowledge and how they do stuff and what you like, what you don't like. And over the years, it definitely helped to be in that world. And me, I like all three colors too. I like the rosé, but I like blanc. I like rouge. I like the champagne. For me, it's like different ways to make it, and I take joy on all three colors.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think the other part is when you learn how it's made, even if there's a wine, and I know these wines you very much enjoy, but if there's a wine you don't necessarily, maybe it's not your favorite, but just understanding what contributed to how it tastes now, it can
All right,
still be
exactly.
like a really interesting
Yeah, for
experience.
sure. That's why now I drink everything. It's just sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not my style. I prefer this one, but I will drink everything. So that's what happens when you know more and more. You can drink everything.
Yeah, you almost want to seek out those things that are made in weird ways. Um,
Exactly.
Can we just briefly cover for our listeners who aren't as familiar with the wines that are produced with the La Mascaronne and Super, maybe starting with La Mascaronne?
Yeah, so La Mascaronne, we situated in Provence. It's the hot spot right now. All the big companies, they try to buy properties over there. We saw it lately with LVMH. They bought Minuti and Chateau d'Esclans. And our property is called La Mascaronne. We bought it from Tom Bove. He was the owner, American owner, who decided to invest over there. And he was the owner of Miraval, the property that Brad Pitt bought. And so we knew that we had something good because of what he did with Miraval. We knew that La Mascaronne was in great shape and it's just a matter of time. We knew we were going to have the quality. Now we have to put the marketing behind it and push it and all that kind of stuff. But the quality, especially when you work with Monsieur Rebier, is all about premium and do the highest quality wine we can. And so that's what we're doing with La Mascaronne. And that's what we produce mainly. Then we do, I think, like 40,000 of red and 20,000 of white wine. They're like really good, obviously, for the price. They like really good. But mainly our main business with La Mascaronne is le rosé.
So my fiance and I, we actually got engaged in Paris last year and did a week and a half around Provence. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it wasn't stereotypical. We didn't have the Eiffel Tower. We went to a nice little spot. But we, driving around there, we basically started at Aix and did the loop, like up through the Luberon and Moustier and around. And what I found, I love the rosés from Provence, but I think everybody knows about those. But I think there's a certain like minerality and approachability to a lot of the whites, and then also like the reds, even outside of Bandol, which I'm sure a lot of people, maybe that's what they think of the region, can really provide some depth and interesting.
I totally agree with you. That's why I think it's a shame that people don't try more the red and the whites from Provence. I was one of those who was like, nah, you don't drink red from Provence. And when I tried it, I was like, oh, wow. I was like, how much is this? I was like, for the price and the quality, I was happily surprised that you can produce some very, very good reds and some very, very good whites too. We don't produce a lot. I will definitely advise people to try it and give it a chance because obviously, yes, Bordeaux is Bordeaux, Bourgogne is Bourgogne, but if you have a budget where you like to try different stuff, Provence is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and I was thinking about what you were saying earlier is if you have a high quality, people who know how to make high quality wine, they have really great parcels and they farm them really well. The grapes that are coming out are really the core ingredients, so that's translates. So if you find a rosé you like.
And that's why the rosé is going to get better and better because you have all those great castles with great knowledge, great directors that is making the red wine now transferring the knowledge to the rosé in Provence because all the big companies are investing in Provence. It can only make the rosé even better. I even think that you're going to be able to keep it longer too because usually rosé, you always ask the last year, but I drank some 22, I don't know, like last week, and it was still great because now you're going to have all those great people is going to make those great rosé. And that's why now you see every house, they make 3 rosé. They make the first one, that's where you start. And then you have the rosé. So for us, it's Chateau La Mascaronne. And then you have La Grande Réserve. And so Miraval, they did the premium one. It's called Muse. Or Chateau d'Esclans, they did Garus. You see every house is now they're making a premium rosé. So I think it comes with all the knowledge now that they can make it even better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think in recent, at least in the U.S., and you probably experienced this too. I know you go both sides. Rosé had its first. It was like early 2000s. It was all for sommeliers. They really know what it was, and then it had its like boom now, and everybody's just because it's pink, I want to drink it. And now I think people are really starting to appreciate and explore rosé more as like a full-on category rather than just the color of wine.
I agree. I agree because at first there was like associate the rosé with the summer party and all that kind of stuff. And now slowly but surely you can see in very nice restaurant they will have some rosé, and now people are enjoying rosé with a great meal. So I think the trend slowly but surely is going to change.
Mm-hmm. What I believe La Mascaronne is coming out with a wine called Folly now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's our new, how can I say, our new collection. We have La Mascaronne and we have La Mascaronne La Grande Réserve. So we wanted to do something different with Folie. And it's just a new way to try rosé. It's going to be very adapted for the beaches and during the day party, all that kind of stuff. That's why we call it Folie. Folie means crazy in French. So it should have a good start, I think.
Awesome. So that pivoting a little bit over, can you tell us a little bit more about Jeeper and those
Jeeper
wines?
is our champagne. Monsieur Rebier invested in that like 10 years ago, I think, something like that. And so it's a champagne, same thing, is getting better and better every year. Like everything that Monsieur Rebier invests in is he's focusing on premium and the highest quality and all that kind of stuff. And Jeeper has a great story. It was during the war. He was a wounded soldier. An American helped him and dropped him off with a Jeeper. And to honor him, they called the champagne Jeeper.
Oh,
And so that's why it's got an American name, French champagne. So it's funny. But no, the champagne is really good. We have a lot of different, we have Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir, Rosé. We have all that kind of stuff. And so for people who really love champagne and want to change from the usual one, they can definitely try that one.
yeah. Awesome. Is there like I guess across all of the properties that you're involved with and the company is there an ethos in terms of farming or like viticulture or in terms of
Yeah, I
winemaking?
think the direction that everybody's going is everything natural, everything is handmade, and
Mm-hmm.
everything's going. I think most of the houses are going towards that direction. So we definitely on that trend too, for sure.
Nice. I have to ask a little bit about your personal interest now, not just
Yes.
we want to know more. What are you currently most or drinking the most of? I know a lot of people, maybe not the most of, but what are some
I had to
regions?
go
Some particular site?
if I
Yeah,
had to go to an island and I can only take
yeah,
one region, one bottle, it'll be a bottle from Bordeaux.
yeah. Interesting. And it would, I assume it would be red. Now, what is
Yes.
something that's been like one of the most surprising wines though that you've had maybe in the past 10 years? Like you were like, I don't want that, or maybe somebody just like
We just talked about it.
blind tasted you.
We just talked about it. A red from Provence. I was
Really, that
very,
that
very
was the most
surprised.
surprise?
Yeah, because then I tried other ones. I didn't try only Mascaronne. I tried other ones and I was very surprised on the quality of a red Provence.
Oh, cool. Wow. Well,
Mhm.
we have similar surprises. On this, and on a slightly different note too, one thing that I've found with rosés, and same thing with actually the quote unquote like natural wines here. I live in Los Angeles. It's
Yeah.
getting a lot of people who may not have drank traditional, maybe like they didn't want like a big red, they didn't want a white, but they really like these wines. And then it gets them into drinking more traditional
Mhm.
wines. Have you
Mhm.
found that your work here and then also your previous time in the NBA has allowed you to introduce people to French wine, the wines of Provence and Champagne that maybe not
I
have.
feel like the NBA involved just like the US. When I first arrived in the US in 2001, everybody was more like hard alcohol and that was the way to
Mm,
go with the rap world and all that kind of stuff. And as the NBA involved and put the that we had to dress up, the dress code and everything, I feel like now as more French chef came to the US and spread the knowledge that now you can eat very, very well in the US. They have great restaurants everywhere. And I feel like the wine involved with that, and you can see now a lot of NBA guys being very proud, even posting on social media, hey, and I drank that vintage or that vintage. And I think Steph Curry, D Wade, Carmelo, they have their own wines. Wine is taking more and more place in the NBA.
well, as wineries, and I know as your companies, everybody's trying to reach the younger consumers. In a way, do you think that you guys are uniquely positioned to trying to reach some of these younger folks with kind of these other things to talk about as well?
I think maybe that's why we did Foley too, is to be
Mhm.
more affordable and have something that it'd be easier to buy for you the younger generation. Yeah.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And then on that same line, do you think is it part of your personal ethos that you wanted to be involved with things that were more not necessarily biodynamic, but organic, environmentally focused in trying to push that narrative, or was that something that just what
No,
happened?
it started more with my love and passion for the wine,
Mm,
and because I like to eat and I grew up in France and that's what we do. But now it's great that at the same time is helping the environment and we're doing stuff the right way.
yeah. And I know you were trying to invest in wine, but I noticed you didn't invest in your own personal cellar or trying to build that up. Is it because you did grow up drinking and you think wine should
Because I
just be
drink,
consumed?
yeah, I
Yeah.
drink. I don't collect. Everything that I buy is to drink. And even if I buy like very old, is to drink. I don't really collect and I don't know. That's the way I was raised. And I don't have like you said, like a personal cellar. I don't. I only have bottles ready to drink.
Yeah. Obviously I don't have the means you have to buy a ton of wines, but I'm also the same
Yeah.
way. I think I
To
just
me,
love.
the way I look at wine is to share with people and enjoy great stories and you like, oh, something happened, we have a great event, or we won a title or a birthday, and the joy is to choose like a good year, and you're like, oh, remember when we drank that bottle at that event and all that kind of stuff. That's what I like about wine.
How do you find yourself explaining these wines differently in the US when you're here and then based on when you're in France? Is there a different story to them
No,
or is it the same story?
no. The US, the knowledge is really good. And it's the same thing for me, US and France. Maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but now, no, they're good.
Do you find I guess maybe it's not that they're not knowledgeable in the US, but maybe is there more preconceived notions about what a wine from Provence may be in France when you're discussing it, whereas like a wine in the US or
Yeah, no, same. No,
no?
when I see the evolution, especially like in Napa Valley, it's amazing the way they grew in the last 25 years. No, for me, it's the same. Same.
Hmm. So when you're looking at the, let's say, the Mascaronne in the next
Mm.
five plus years, what are the three things that they're really focusing on to continue to reach more people and improve the quality of the wine? I know you mentioned a couple earlier, but
I was just going to say, continue improving the wine, and with the help of the cost team and all the knowledge that we have in all the different brands, continue to improve the quality of rosé and that you can keep it for longer,
yeah,
not drink just the last year. I think that'd be the main, the main focus.
is that, and then not to get too nitty gritty, but is that going to be involved in more in the winemaking? Obviously, is that going to be more time with the skins, or while trying to maintain that like color, or is it like a
I think
structural thing?
I think it's a mix of everything because you can see even with the climate, with a lot of stuff are changing, and just to stay modern and stay involved in what people want and find a happy middle with what we think is a great rosé. I think it's a mix of everything.
Hmm. Are you going to start? Is the company going to start trying to focus more on maybe like single vineyard or more like local bottlings? I know right now like, there's fruit coming from all over, but is that something that's potentially on the roadmap?
I don't know. We'll see. That's more, I think, a question for Monsieur Rebier.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, that's just driving again. Provence. Everybody just says Provence like it's one thing, but it's so many even just when the area
Yeah,
is so diverse. So
I agree. Agree.
yeah, I think that would be. And then or not necessarily the last thing, but last thing on the pairing and just my questions for the future is: have you guys explored more? You mentioned earlier culinary like partnerships. Is there something that like you guys have focused on? Maybe the structure.
That's something you have to talk with Monsieur Rebier, but I know that he had talks about like going towards what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I just think it's interesting for you growing up with it. It's like everybody thinks wine is always has to be with. It doesn't have to be with food, but you can't have food without wine. And then in the U.S., I still think that's a growing concept, and I think it's interesting to help craft a story about a wine and necessarily talking about how it could
Mhm.
pair.
I agree. I agree.
All right. Well, I would have to say that those are my like what I had to really know about La Mascaronne. I think my last question on that topic would be, I'm just trying to figure out how to frame this properly. Do you, in terms of your wine investment, what you're looking for in the future, are you looking to be more hands-on in this particular realm as well, or like what is exciting you the most about this, and what do you want to continue to do more as you move forward in terms of wine
I'm
industry?
already having everything that I was looking for, being involved in a project, being in a project that I'm proud of, and that
Hmm.
when I go to the vineyard, I can say, oh, it's my vineyard, and I'm very proud of the team. I love working with them. I love it's becoming like a tradition, going to the harvest and all that kind of stuff. Everything that I was looking for into that investment, I'm having it. And so it's a great experience, and I'm looking forward for uh, the next years to keep improving our wines and people enjoying it in all around the world.
Yeah, and I think the idea of legacy, you had one in basketball. It meant one thing, but I think now being able to see vintages that you've been involved with and actually
Yeah,
they're
it's pretty
evolving.
cool. Yeah, it's a
uh,
different experience, but it's pretty cool, for sure.
Yeah, you'll have to start building. So you got to save some bottles from some of your earlier vintages just so you can have. But awesome.
Maybe I should keep it at least the years of my kids. Maybe I have two kids. Maybe I should keep those years.
No, for sure. Yeah. I think this has been so
Thank
great. I
you,
really
buddy.
appreciate you
Thank you very
joining.
much. Yeah, no problem. Take care, my
Yeah.
man.
All right. That was our interview with Tony Parker. I hope everybody really got into the essence of Provence and got really excited about La Mascaronne and also Maison Gipper or Gipper. Cheaper. There I go again. But I hope everybody goes to seek that out. And now we will be transitioning over to Channing Frye and Jacob Gray.
We are joined by Chosen Family Wines and its founder, Channing Frye, and CEO, Jacob Gray. How are y'all doing?
Wonderful.
I say what Channing says. Wonderful. Very good, man. It's great to be connected with you guys. I think we share a lot of the same energy around wine and getting more people involved in the world of wine, and we're excited to chat.
No, this is great. This is awesome. It's a nice change of pace from talking about basketball all the time.
Yeah, Billy and I definitely are in the, we've never been prodigies in basketball, and we're just recently becoming prodigies in wine.
Awesome. Listen, hey, I'm trying to get there. I'm selling a rookie contract, so we'll figure it out.
I might have got rookie of the year, though. I'll give you that.
We're trying.
I'd go for a scholarship at like D3 School and Wine at this point, but
Jan's got too many mouths to feed to not try to be a pro.
Yeah. You got to do it right. If you got to do it, you got to do it right. It's just dive in. Don't put the toe in. You just got to jump right into the pool.
Tell us a little about how each of you, I know your kind of stories and how you got into wine are a little different. You share a little bit about that?
Jake, you want to go first?
Sure. I was born and raised in Davis, California, which is now known for how well their viticulture school is. Was playing basketball and drinking Bud Lights, so wasn't a wine prodigy myself, but grew up in a family, in a household that wasn't shy about drinking some wine, sharing it. It was at big moments. Some of my parents' friends were winemakers, things of that nature. But as my life progressed, and as I think eating good, drinking good, great conversations, where my time and energy shifted, I found that a bottle of wine was always a great connector. So it just opened my mind up to wanting to learn more about it. And I think organically, those things that I loved most in life were trending in that direction. And then I got in the movie business and trying to produce a film. A lot of that are dinners and conversations as well. So I think it was a natural fit for my lifestyle and the things that I was passionate about. And then I moved back to Portland, Oregon, to be with my now wife about 10 years ago. And I was drawn to wine country, started going out to tastings a lot, started going to dinners, just seeing how I thought this place was gold. And I thought that a lot of amazing hospitality and wine experiences and just hospitality in general was growing. So it drew my likeness. And I met Chase Renton, who's a partner of ours in Chosen Family. And I got to help launch a winery in 2015, our first vintage. And then we opened our doors in 2016. So I got to really learn my way through wine, grow a business, a brand, and from harvest to opening a tasting room to having 500 plus members to all the things that came in between. And during that time, we started doing some really charitable events for the Children's Cancer Association. And Channing, as one of my best friends, we would drink a lot of wine in his off season. I'll just say that. And in the midst of doing that, it was kind of like, what else could we be doing? So we did some dinners for the Children's Cancer Association at Longfellow Estate. And yeah, man, it's just a big part of my life. I can go on for too long about that, but that started our journey, me and Channing's together. And some of those moments led to critical conversations that led us to go, shit, if we ever did something in wine, what would that be like? What would we call it? And how would we do it different? And I think that's where Chosen Family Wines comes into our lives.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to try to keep this as, I want to say, not bore you with the minutia, but basically I was like him. I was drinking beer, right? Drinking beer and whiskey. And obviously I love wine, but again, I didn't come from the culture of wine. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. It's like tequila, Coronas, and burritos, which now listen, nobody complained. When I came up here to Portland, I started doing wine tastings. And I was like, this vibe, this like interaction between people is almost infectious. Everybody says this in the wine industry, the wine is a connector, but it really is, right? Because each place has its own story that for a group of 6, somebody may love the story and not like the wine, or somebody may love the wine and be like, this doesn't really touch me. But like, everyone's right. They have so many different touch points. And so I started to fall in love with that part. And obviously, Jake was with me on we were looking at old photos of like people who are like big dogs in the industry who we had been seeing when they were like just starting 6-7 years ago. We're like, holy shit, that was you? You lost like 50 pounds. Like, I didn't even recognize, obviously over the course of time, you're just like, wait a second. I forgot that was you, or that we had come to see you and they were in a barn that didn't even exist 10 years ago. So the people who were listening want to know, why wine, or why this or why that. It's just like the conversation. I love eating. I love talking. Obviously, I do it for all my jobs. And when you put a bottle of wine in there, it like can be something more than just the juice. right? The juice is it's like a book. And in each book is based on the year. And so it's like an encyclopedia of what you think, like a painting or of what you think happened that year and your relationship with the other person, your relationship with the earth. And for me, I felt like after basketball was very factual. I felt after basketball, this was the thing that got me up in the morning, the thing that was like, man, what are we doing today? 7:00 text, 8:30 text. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? What did you have last night? What are you having tonight? Like, what's new? Have you tried anything nice? And so I have my championship, for reference, I have my championship ring here, and I have all of our wines right next to me, right? Or in this closet here, because I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud that we've been very authentic. We've been very passionate about what our small little business. We've been very real. We've had some real conversations, some real long conversations about how we can use not only my platform, but use each winemaker's platform, use this platform to just get people introduced into wine and take the stigma away from it. And say, dude, this can be fun. This can be great. Whether you're watching a Super Bowl or you're looking at a show or you're just sitting down having a great meal with people, now that the world is starting to open up, let it be the center of your table where you're like, I have been waiting to give this for you. That type of connection with all the crazy things that are going on, you never know what people might need. And just for you to say, hey, I was thinking about you. We are going to love this. Let's make a date for this, whether it's playing gin rummy or just talking, listening to jazz music. Just let that bottle of wine be special, a special connector between you and your people.
And that's the sexiest thing about wine too, is that you can dress it up, dress it down, drink it on the front porch. You can take it
for
to,
sure.
like, the same bottle you can take from a Michelin 3-star, and you can take it outside, put a bonfire on, and sit around and drink it out of a yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. But just whatever it makes you, you're right. I love saying that. People go, what do you taste? I said, what do you taste? This. I say, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Do you like it? Okay, you're right. I do. You may not. I love it. You like it, whatever. You're right. So it's just the conversation. It's wild how unoften that happens or how rare that is to have a real conversation where everyone is right.
You use the word stigma too. And I think this is wine. This is a luxury good. You don't need to look a certain way, talk a certain way, be from a certain place to drink something. And then you definitely, just because you bought or made an expensive bottle of wine doesn't mean you need to be an asshole. And whether you make a cheap one doesn't mean you can't be well thought out, read, traveled, and just want to make something for people to drink. And if you can't take a bottle of wine, where it was made, what year it was made in, and what went into it, and find common themes to have a great conversation with someone, you need to step your game up, right? If I go to dinner with you, break out a Burgundy from a vintage that I was in college. If you can't find a conversation piece around that, let's go back to school and figure some things out.
Yeah. Do you guys know Andre Mack by chance?
I got a text last night. Guess who's in your backyard? And I don't know Andre. I feel like him and Channing have reached out to each other, and I think we've sent him some wine, but I think that our paths are crossing very soon, and I can't wait to meet the guy. I've heard great things about him.
Yeah, I've heard great things, and I've reached out back and forth. And anytime I see somebody making wine that much fun and entertaining, I have to give credit. He's hilarious. He's so informative. It's just it's so funny. He's so smart about it.
Code door. He calls it garage door, but
right.
Yeah, no, I'm only asking because I read his book. It's 99 bottles, and it's basically his life through a series of bottles and bottles that meant something to him at a certain period in his life. So it starts out with like Old English malt liquor and goes through anything, but it's like these mean something. They're special, and some are expensive, some are not. And it's really interesting how like a bottle can either pertain to a moment in your life or remind you of someone, and it doesn't matter what it is. Anything can be special at that time. So that's maybe what I was asking.
He's doing great things in the industry. Just if you're moving the culture of anything, especially something as endless as wine, give credit, especially if you're trying to include everybody. And I'm a businessman at heart, so is Jake. And so we're like, wait a second. What? This is a luxury good, but why would you only appeal to the 1%? This is amazing. Everybody should get a chance to try it. Everybody. I don't care if it's rosé. I don't care if it's Tempranillo from Sedona, Arizona. Try it out. Get into this. We need more things that bring us together, more groups.
And I think that's just like an American construct of like that exclusivity culture. Because other countries like Spain or Italy, wine brings you together. Nobody talks about where it's from.
No.
It's from that place. It's just there to have.
They call it table wine because it's on every table. It's like that's
Exactly.
clear. That is the centerpiece.
Yeah, we've taken table wine and said, oh, it's cheap wine.
Luxury.
The wine that you bring, the wine that you bring to the table in other countries is, that's the bottom shelf stuff, right?
Yeah, and I think to Jen's point, I just want people, whether you like it or not, that's great. Just don't think you can't do it or shouldn't try it because you have something in your mind that it's not for you, or I won't like it, or this person drinks it and I don't relate to them. It's grapes, man. It's farmed. It's people care about this, put their livelihood into it. Then it ends up in a bottle and there's booze in it and it's beautiful. It doesn't give you as much of a hangover. There's so many great things that can come from this. Then let alone if you travel for it, the experiences we've had just in a year and a half getting to go places because of wine. I mean, it makes you want to do it forever. I'll just say that it makes you want to do it.
We in this forever. I don't know where you going. I'm right here.
Even if we're not, we're still going to wine tasting and traveling around. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's to your point. Like when I randomly decided to work a harvest, I just went to an English speaking country. It happened to be Australia. And while I was down there, a fraternity brother of mine, college, who I hadn't spoken to in years, like invited me over. And just like what Channing was saying, like he couldn't wait to open his wine cellar and be like, just pick any bottle you want. I've been waiting for anybody from college to come down and visit me. And it was like, is that at that point though? But I wouldn't have gone to Australia if I didn't want to work a harvest somewhere that just happened to be in the English speaking part of the world. So that's
how good did that feel though? Somebody say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Like, and here's something that I collected in my disposable income. I go, oh, my friend Jake would love this. Let me grab a bottle of this. Or I can't wait till Billy, like when people come over, I can't wait to be like, here you go, all of them. And Jake knows, it gets weird sometimes because I'm like, try this champagne, try these bubbles, try this. They're like, Channing, whoa. I'm like, no. Just try a little bit. I don't care. Like I'll drink it tomorrow, the next day, or whatever. Whenever people come over, I got like 10 wines out. And I'm talking, oh, you like this AVA? You like this? Hey, this Washington Cabernet versus the California versus a Paso Robles. Do you taste the difference? Oh, I didn't know. So if your budget is $25 versus $50, maybe you should try this so that you know what you want. But like the passing of education and opportunity is a must in this. More than the next person, you have to tell them.
And I have what Channing just described is basically, you asked about our ethos. Like he just gave you his personal ethos. That is our brand ethos. What AVAs do you like? What places are great? What kind of wines are they making? What would you want to share with someone? And then how would you share with them an expensive wine and a little more affordable wine so they can learn the difference in these regions? We are literally trying to do that with our portfolio of wines. We are traveling. We're in the industry. Our friends are in the industry. We travel for it. If we're a trusted source for you, we're going to keep it real with you. We are literally putting in our life's work, our time, our energy to find great, not only dope, great wines from great places, but the people that are doing it. We're lucky enough where we don't have to play with anyone and no one has to play with us if it doesn't make sense. We're just trying to share amazing people that care about their farming practices, how they make it. This is art at the end of the day. They're sharing their stuff with them and we're just going like, yo, that's amazing. Let's create that for us if we can figure it out. Like, obviously, we're not trying to rip anyone off. We're like literally just trying to be a voice for the industry and a voice for people. And we want to share great wines. And then we have palates and we like to share. Our friends trust us to bring great bottles of wine to the table. I want you, if you follow our journey, you're going to know if you buy our product, you're going to get some good wine, right? Regardless of price point, we're going to do everything we can to deliver the best quality product we can. And we're going to put our time and energy behind that. And to Channing's point, like a lot of brands, which is great, you have to focus on, I own a piece of property here. I have to farm it for a decade to get a return and start the game. What if you come to dinner in our house, we're going champagne to Barolo and everything in between. What if a brand can teach some of those things, create those things? So I think being in 2022, being a little nimble and flexible and seeing this industry growing, progressing, and being like, we've gotten a lot of compliments that we're not thinking or doing what everyone else is doing. But I think we can get away with it and do it right because we are not sacrificing the end game, which is good wine. We're going to give you great wine to drink. And if you trust us, we're going to show you great wines from all over the place.
Yeah, we go. That's what's been fun. I would never go to Walla Walla. And I'm like, man, when are we going back? No.
Now you call me tomorrow to go next week. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, when are we going back? Like, I tried wines that I would never even think of. Like I've never been to Paso Robles, and I can't wait to go. I've been to Santa Barbara. I can't wait to go back. I was going to places in Napa I didn't even know existed. And so I'm like, but it's not just the wine. The wine is itself. The people I'm meeting are like, dude, holy crap. Why doesn't more people know about this? And so I could send a tweet or a text and reach 500,000 people. So I'm using my platform to be like, hey, I get the blessing to work with this guy who I thought was cool, who's an awesome human being and also makes great wine. So we want to do a little bit that's just so it doesn't take away from his regular job. So it's like a little collaboration. And then, hey, when we run out, I'm sending you, if you like what we do, you go to that guy and support the crap out of him. And the people that we've had the opportunity to make wine with, I'm members at their places. I buy way too much wine. Like, I love these people to death. We text all the time. Hey, I saw you were here. I drank this or doing that. And I'm just excited to meet more awesome people from around the world, around the country.
I don't want to be too chosen family really is what it is, right? And if you stand on something and you believe in something, me and Channing, I think, great people to know, great people to hang out with. We support the shit out of people and we empower people and we love telling people about stuff that we love, but we're also not pushovers. So we're not just going to do this for anyone. We're not like trying to just maximize profits in the wine industry. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like we're literally fighting with each other.
We're in the wrong industry for that. We're in the wrong
What
industry
inventory can you get? Where can we get it from? Where should, it's just been it's an amazing journey to build this thing. Channing's talking to like in a good way, tribal, like it's a tribe. You're meeting your people, right? You're getting to share these things with people. And we've been really lucky to bump into a lot of chosen family along the way. And I can only imagine where that's going. I think it's really cool.
Do you guys want to, so the name Chosen Family, can you guys just elaborate? I love when we first spoke about how you guys, it literally is your chosen people that you want to be around. Did it just come up serendipitously or just were you guys choosing your people all regularly?
I'll let the big guys start there.
I think for me, wine has evolved from fun wine tasting to, holy crap, I like this, to, oh, what clone is that? Right. And like figuring all that stuff. But I still have that initial love of really who I am as a person and what makes me happy. And that's camaraderie. I'm a social butterfly in some sorts. And during my life, when 2016, really, when I won a championship, that same year, both my parents died. And so I was just like depressed, basically, honestly, like clinically, probably. So there were very few things that would make me happy. I would go to practice and I'm just like doing what I have to do. And then I'm coming home and being around my family made me happy. And then I'd have different friends come over. My teammates would go to dinner with me. And what I noticed was what really was the coal in my engine, right, as a train, was the camaraderie, laughing, talking, the empathy. I think when people see you in a weird space, they tend to lend themselves a little bit more to you. So the friends and the brothers that I made, not only on my team, but obviously Jake and my guy Doug and DB and my brother, obviously, was really molded me and made me appreciate them 1,000-fold. It's just not always your family that's going to take care of you. It's a family that's eating and breaking bread with you. That when I was in Phoenix and I needed somebody to take care of my kid for a day because Lauren was out of town, I trusted my boy DB to come take care of my kid. It's tough to do that. And I say that easily, but like I have one brother and no parents, no grandparents. So for me, that is like everything, right? Everything to have that camaraderie, to sit down and dinner, to have big groups of people where we talk and we share about what's going on with life. I think since COVID, we've gotten away from that a lot, right? For obvious reasons. But to get back to that is going to heal America, I think, in my opinion. I think it's going to heal each person because you realize you're not going through anything by yourself, right? When you're in your house, you're talking to yourself and you're like, I'm here I'm here alone. When you are eating dinner, cooking for somebody, pouring a glass for somebody, what do you want to do? That lending of yourself heals. It healed me to be around him. And so the chosen family is the people, and the name is, as a long-winded story, is the name. It comes from, you get to choose your family because those are the people that you want to think about. You want to spend time with. You want to be real with them because they know they're going to be real with you and they hold you accountable. They lift you Well, they give you a hug. They congratulate you when you're doing well. There's no hate. You always try to do better for each other.
And then that extends to all the, I know Channing very well, and I know this, I've been part of this journey, but hearing it in that capacity, brother, you almost got me. You're a legend.
Shit. Sorry.
That was awesome. But like all the things he just said extends to when you know who your chosen family is, you witness it time after time about literally who you share your favorite wines with as well, right? Like, if you don't like wine, just don't be the person when your friends care about it and they open something great to just be like, it all tastes the same. At least give them that credit, and you can stay at the table. But honestly, though, like when you have these moments, I'm lucky enough to still have my folks. We're all getting older. The time that we see each other isn't as much. I'm a zero kid, so when I say my buddies are my brothers, they're my brothers. That's what I got. It's who I lean on, to Chan's point. But as we've matured and we've gotten older in our time, it's the only commodity we can't buy is time. And me and Channing talk to each other. It's amazing how little we can see each other, or how much we do see each other. But you're trying to find these moments with the people you care about the most. And when you add wine into that and you see who you're sharing it with and who's around during these times, it's your chosen family. It just is that simple. And I always thought if we could deliver something that meant that much to us, for it to resonate at all on the other side, to go, this is a dope name, this wine's good. If that doesn't trigger something to go, I want to share this with my chosen family, then I don't know that we know what we were doing on the branding side. But it comes from a very real place.
Man, wine is like such a teacher of generosity too. When I first started really, okay, these are my bottles. I've got them in my fridge. Like, these are for special occasions. Folks would come over and I'd find myself like stoop down, look in, see, what do I got? Oh, I want to bring this out. Like, they're going to appreciate it. And every time I had that gut response of, oh man, that's my good bottle, I can't bring that out. I'm like, no, I have to bring it out now, because this is a way to show the generosity of it. Because man, like, it's not hard to sit down at a table with buddies who aren't super into wine and pull out $200, $300, $400 worth of wine. They like never know it. Right? But you're like sharing something like that's, one, maybe costs you a little bit, but also is like important to you. It's a special year, a special producer, and to share that and like to tell that story, man, teaches you so much, right?
Totally. I think my boys, we were not into wine, and they've been wine tasting with me, and they were like, dude, we love this. When can we do it again? And so now Jake and I have turned into, if you come to Oregon, you got to call Channing and Jake, right? They're like, where are you going? What are you drinking? How you doing? And now it's gotten to the point where we have the opportunity, because we're in the industry, to go to more places and people may know about. So like, I'm giving a case to a friend, be like, hey, my cellar is a little full. I'm thinking about you. I know you drink. Try these and tell me what you like. And he's sending me texts on the big text chain, like, yo, you guys got to get this, or you got to try this, or I didn't know I like GSMs, or I didn't know this Merlot tastes good, which Merlot is coming back. I'm sorry to tell everybody. Merlot is coming back. It's just, again, it's the camaraderie. It's a point of conversation where people go, it doesn't matter if it's a $35 bottle of wine. If you found a sick $35 bottle of wine, Chosen Family Wines, then bring it over. Bring a case of that over, right? The price doesn't matter. Unless you try to get something old world, well, then we doing big ball stuff. But we could do that too. But again, if that's what you're excited about, tell me about why it makes you excited. I like the price isn't whatever. Yeah. Tell me it's first growth. Tell me you've been to Bordeaux and that you met the winemaker and that you had a great time, that you went to a wedding over there, these crazy stories, and how this changed your whole palate because you're finally tasting what wine is really supposed to taste like. Tell me about these things. Or just say, hey, get the Franzia, get the chillable red. We'll slap the bag for a little bit. We're going to be hungover as shit the next day. Slap the bag. Dude, if you did not slap the bag and you're in the wine industry, I don't respect your palate.
Man, you got to go you do have to go to Paso. You got to go to Tablas and get their new bag or their box for a day. You can,
really?
You can do a whole campaign with them, Channing.
Man, listen,
Tablas.
I'm going to tell you this. I could doctor up some wine. I could doctor up some bad wine easily.
Slap the bag GSM.
Slap the bag GSM. You just got to freeze the shit out of it.
Oh, that's fun.
Surprisingly enough, though, from a wine nerd side, bags are pretty good at storing wine. I think there's going to be more nice wine in bags just because
really
oxygen. Yeah, like you can't, the way it goes down, there's less exposure to the oxygen. There's really, you can keep the wine for a really long time. So so you're going to start seeing better wine in bags and boxes.
I go camping for a week And I have been trying to figure out a way to have, because we like go camping, like hardcore camping. So like we'd sit and play Beersby on the lake, and I'm like drinking beer, and I'm like, God, I need some rosé. It's like nice outside. I can figure out the way to put rosé in a bag, a big drum of rosé for a week. I would do that all day.
What is it? Not a bad bag? Is it 3 liters,
yes.
Philly? Is that what it is from the Tablas Rosé? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3 liters in a box, $95, Tablas Creek in Paso. Shout out Tablas Creek.
They make pretty good wine too. I've had a bunch of stuff.
Oh, it's killer. Also, Paso itself is everything that y'all are talking about in terms of like people that come in and just want you to drink good wine and be good folks. That's just all of Paso Robles.
I went to college for a few years down in San Luis Obispo, which is like 20 minutes from there. But I was not drinking. My parents would make me take them wine tasting every once in a while. But again, I was still drinking shitty beers and doing other things.
So I have a question for you guys, just because we're here. It's hard you want to be experts in your own hometown. And so from you guys in the new world, obviously, I think what I'm hearing is Santa Barbara's blowing up a lot right now. St. Louis Obispo is blowing up right now, SLO. And so like, where else do you think that's next in America? Is it like Riesling from upstate New York? Is it like, they'll say Moscato from Atlanta? I don't know like, what's next?
You're asking that's a rabbit hole question for me. So I would say Santa Barbara's there. Oregon's obviously coming around. We are one of our good friends.
Let's stop there for just 2 seconds. I had a healthy debate just the other day. Santa Barbara versus Oregon Pinot Noirs. So you think Santa Barbara is in a better spot domestically and internationally from a quality standpoint of Pinot Noir versus Oregon right now?
No. I would say only in notoriety. I would flip it. I prefer Willamette Valley Pinot Noirs over. And you could see my cellar, and it's there. We were actually just up there a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting. The most interesting Pinot Noir I had was from a producer, and we had them next to each other. So there's one like Santa Maria Valley, somewhere closer to the coast. They had a small plot of vines on Catalina Island, off the coast here on the Channel Island. And I had a Pinot and a Chard from there, and those were amazing because there's like the salinity. I don't know if it's just from the soil or from the constant breezes, but those were two of the most interesting wines I had while up there. I came home with a bottle of the Chardonnay because it tasted like a Chablis, actually.
Interesting in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Because when sometimes you say interesting, you be like, that was interesting.
That's what I had to train my significant other when we go wine tasting and she doesn't like it. That's what she has to say now. Because before she would just say that in front of the winemaker. I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Oh, wait. No, so answer the question. Yeah.
No, so New World. I just got back from Valle de Guadalupe. So that Mexico question a while back wasn't a farce. I've been there a few times. It's really distinct terroir that it has this like salinity, but I think when you find the right wines there, that's really interesting. I think that it's on the up. They're still learning.
Mexico City.
No, it's out by like Baja.
I like Tijuana if you go east for like
I know some people have been down there. So anyways.
But yeah, they're just starting to get more expertise in like the late 90s. So they're still trying to find exactly what they've been growing vines there for hundreds of years since the Spanish. But I think that's really interesting. Something that's really far off on the radar, but I want to start trying them is I've been talking to a guy who's making wine in Vermont now. His name's like David Ketch. He's a master of wine. He's making these like very small, or no, he's a master of some. Either way, it doesn't matter. He's making this very small plot of land basically, and he's using a lot of hybrid, and they're basically producing high acid wines that are very drinkable. And he seems like more of an old world palate. But I think once you get past the stigma of hybrid and something that's a little higher acid, it's going to be like, people are going to really be chugging along with it. Those are two that are on my radar right now. And then I've heard great things about Texas, to be honest, as well, but I haven't been down there and tasted yet.
Somebody said something about Austin.
Yeah, Hill Country was like outside.
Yeah.
That was what my answer to that question was going to be, Texas. But I would say, yeah, somewhere outside of Austin too. It sounds like none of us know where that's actually happening yet.
Yeah.
Brady, you got to rep Virginia there.
I was rolling that around too. I think Virginia, especially for old world palates, is underrated.
What kind of varietals is that?
Cab Franc, Merlot. Gosh, just thinking.
Estate grape's technically Viognier, but nobody really knows.
Viognier, yeah,
that's true. I think it was when California Viognier was catching on, and they were like, "We need to have a grape people know."
I was talking to someone I think they live in BC. They said they thought the two best New World places right now was New York, Finger Lakes, and then Oregon was their opinion. Obviously, Napa and Sonoma are hard to even debate about because they set the standard. I think Walla Walla is very much underrated. So I think if you took your Mexico and you went even across the American border to the Okanagan, which is outside of Vancouver, which can make some really good wines, it's hard to say that the best of the best isn't on the West Coast from in between those regions, from Santa Barbara to Oregon. Walla Walla is a little east of us and hotter, but I think that that's the learning curve. I think that what is Vermont doing? What is Virginia? I know every state basically makes some wine. It's just who's actually getting into, are we drinking it? Is anyone drinking it that you trust? You know what I mean? And I think that's,
In
fact,
I don't know if anybody's drinking wine in Nebraska.
I think talking about like Paso too and SLO, it's everything that people don't like about Napa in terms of it's not stuffy. It's not $80 million tasting facilities. It's Paso, it's down to earth. You can actually afford the wines and you can drink them like right now. So you think about like Paso Cab, you can get a killer Paso Cab, $40 to $50, a third of the price that you're going to pay up in Napa. I think that's, while it's been on the map for a little bit now, there's over 215 wineries.
There's a lot there.
Around there. Crazy dense.
Yeah, Chan, we got to go spend a couple of days there soon.
Yeah.
I worked at
We got some work to do.
Yeah, no, I worked at a producer that for like a little over a year and a half that made wine from Paso and Monterey. And speaking of interesting New World Paso or Pinot, if you want to compare, I would say sit down and do a Santa Barbara, a Monterey. You could even do like St. Lucia, Highlands or something, and then an Oregon one. And they're distinctly different. One is because those transverse winds from Santa Barbara. And then in Monterey, you have that fog, but also this weirdly like strong sunlight. So you get like really ripe fruit, but the fog keeps the acid there. But then neither of them, you can tell they're both from really warmer, sunny places. When you compare it to an Oregon, those secondary notes and sometimes the tertiaries that come out in an Oregon one, I don't get those as much in the California Pinots. And that's like my tell when I like trying to look at them or gauge them. So
if we're not doing this tasting with you, we're going to wrestle next time I see you. Yeah. Doing like the most obscure West Coast Pinot Noirs, different terroirs, terriers, secondary. We got to try those, man. That'd be fun. Oregon. Dude, that's a blind tasting. That would be a lot of fun. We got
bring some Virginia wine too. We'll bring.
Yeah, late night. We'll party with that, man. Me and Chan got our heads blown off a little bit by how good some Sonoma Coast Pinot was. Now, obviously, Sonoma and Napa have the brands and the people that you would assume all these things. I think that it's most known for its Bordeaux varietals or Cab and all that stuff. But when you get coastal, you get into the Russian River and you get out to the Sonoma Coast, we had some friends just go, you got to trust us on this. You got to come try some of these wines. And we were lucky enough to not only try some barrels, but get some barrels into Chosen Families, our world, through some winemaker friends of ours that are at Nickel and have their own brand, Salty Goats. But we were sitting there because I think inherently we were like, we wanted to support them and go, yeah, I'm sure there's good wines there. But us, if Oregon is easygoing as we are, we're getting a little, these people are making some serious wines up here. I think the Pinot Noir and Chardonnay coming from Willamette Valley is world class. So I think we know that we are there for like quality wise. So going other places for Pinot Noir, you're going like, I don't know. And we were really impressed, man. And I'm excited to learn more, visit it. I know how beautiful it is as well. A lot of the coastal, like the best wines are grown in the prettiest places. It's kind of a cool thing to see.
Are those wines coming from further? I know they're trying to plant further west in Sonoma, and it gets colder. And I think that's when you can get some really, really interesting stuff out there.
Oh, it's done, yeah. And into the foothills too there, but there's some really small AVAs in California that would be like, oh shit, there's like rogue farmers that's doing their thing, but there's some sought out wines from those that I don't know that I know them that well, but they're out there for sure.
Yeah, ours is from Fort Ross Seaview. I think it's 3 miles from the coast.
So, that's west, yeah.
These dudes put their foot when somebody says, "Oh, this is our first year making Pinot," we love Pinot. We do naturally Cab. And then he makes a crazy SB2, which blew my mind. My wife loves Chardonnay, and it's like a Chardonnay. I'm not going to call her an expert. When you only drink one type of wine, like you've got to be good at it.
A fiend.
She's pretty picky. Yeah, fiend. This SB that they made was crazy. What the heck is this? This is everything I would think. But dude, these dudes, Salty Goats, absolutely crushed what they did on their first year. And for us, like to have all these, I love being like, here's our $35 Pinot. Here's our Longolo estate where Jake works, or Chase, that's his place. And that is, you can see that the 2 different years we have. And then you bring in like a California people can see what oh man, I didn't know there was such a big difference in style. And it's been awesome.
We got to bring you guys this aged, this 2014 SB from Virginia here that we had. Billy and I tasted recently. What to bring that out to you? Would it have had like, how many years did they keep it in bottle before they even released it? I forget what it was.
It's a lot longer than you'd expect.
Yeah, it was like, they had it in bottle for like 6 years. I think they just released it last year or something like that.
Damn.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So on your other point though, I guess I'll turn this back around. You guys, outside of traditional varietals and regions you think are growing cool things, what grapes are you randomly into? Because I think to answer one of your questions earlier from my side, I've been on like a weird Blau Fränkisch Zweigelt kind of kick, like Austrian red grapes, because I think they're high acid and they can retain that even when they ripen. So they're growing some cool ones of those in the Finger Lakes. So I think something like that, like if you ask me Finger Lakes Riesling, I'm fine with that. But I'd like the Blau Fränkisch from there. So I think, what do you guys think is the cool or emerging grapes that like people should be looking out for?
I just want Channing to pronounce that word you just used.
Dude, the blah, blah.
You wanted that blah blah. You're the man.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, I've actually, and again, I like where my disposition is because I understand what you're talking about, but I also go, I'm into blends now, like old world blends. And I think not enough people dabble in that. When people see red blend, they're like, for the most part, it's Merlot, right? People just say red blend because that sideways. Well, it's Merlot based and people just don't get it, right? They're like, oh, well, I don't like Merlot. Stop it. You've been drinking Merlot for 20 years. Like, you just didn't know it. So yeah, blends have been big on me because Cabs, the tannins tear my teeth off sometimes. And so I'm a Pinot guy. And so I like to have different levels of fruit and especially dark fruit, but not have like tannins tear my tongue off my lips.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like multiple winemakers I've talked with over the years have always said like the misconception's wrong. The best wines are blend because they literally take the best lots and they make it perfectly balanced as opposed to just trying to force a single varietal for a single year.
That's a great point. I think that's a very interesting point and a true point. It's like that when you start getting into like specific wines or this vintage from this place of this clone from this ridge and they have different blocks, there's something just insane about really seeing that get pulled off and living up to what it can be. But I think it's interesting to put it that way because it's like very rarely are you taking those wines, depending on how many barrels you have and what type of barrels they are, with a blend of different varietals, and they're literally getting to make a wine, right? Like you're taking the winemakers who are just insane with palate and vision and the ability to blend things, getting to blend the best of the best of the best to just literally make a wine. So it's interesting to think of that. I think one of the sleeper, they planted a bit of Gamay in Willamette Valley. I know a bunch of winemakers here that like it and drink it. I haven't turned you're going to look at my cellar and you might be find 1 to 100 Gamays versus Pinot Noirs, but I'm open to it. And there are some good producers. I saw blogs from Napa, which surprised me. Chan said, we went up to Walla Walla, and I think I was going to Walla Walla for Syrah, which I still haven't gotten away from that. And then I think GS, there's some great blends to Chan's point. I had a Merlot or two that really surprised me, like really, really surprised me. And then I had a Cab or two that blew my mind from specific places. I don't drink
Red Mountain.
Much. Yeah, Red Mountain did some really...
Red Mountain Cabernets, guys.
Yeah.
And there's a district in Walla Walla called the Rocks that I think is the most unique AVA in America, probably.
Oh, like really
distinct. Walla Walla is a big place and they make great wines. Then there's this AVA within it that's like flat, rocky, crazy. And the wines definitely have their own. Sometimes it can be too much, too funky, but like the idea that that's there and you can add some funk and texture to a wine and just change the dynamic of it that way, which can be really appealing. It can be pretty cool. So I think, yeah, those varietals caught me off guard. I haven't gotten anything too obscure, like where I'm like, I don't know that, but those were the ones that surprised me, I think, most so far.
Yeah, I'd say Washington has some really cool AVAs, like Red Mountain, the one you were talking about, the Rocks, and then Horse Heaven Hills too, is where what place we had on. And the weird part about that is just they're so far from urban centers. That's been their main downfall. They have great fruit. They're so far though from infrastructure. It's been like really hard to just bring all those grapes properly into a winery and vinify them and then market them, have people come see them. So
and they're both on the Oregon-Washington border, which you always think it's just Washington. So for doing business can get a little trickier. And then there's no airport out there. So you can't even fly in there. You got to drive, which I don't mind the road trip, but from a tourism standpoint, not everyone's got a private jet to land in the middle of a vineyard.
It's going to be tough from Virginia to get out there.
You're probably driving from Seattle or Portland.
yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hey, let me fly 5.5 hours to drive another 4 hours.
Exactly. You could be in Champagne. You could be in Champagne in the same amount of time.
I was just trying to convince my girlfriend to do that from LA. And she's like, oh, we have to fly, then drive that far. I'm good. We'll just stay. We'll go to the Willamette if we're going to fly to Portland then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you extend that trip. That's the way to do it. If you came up to Portland and you have 5 days to a week one time, you come to Willamette, then you go to Walla Walla, then you work your way back or fly out of Portland.
Well,
That makes sense.
I'm front loading it. We're flying to Paris on Thursday and then driving like our whole trip in France. So by the time I fly to Seattle and drive Washington and Oregon, it's going to be easy.
Dude, that's a great. We did that when we went to France.
Oh, you drove?
We drove to Nice, Bordeaux. We drove all those
tough.
places. Like, it was the best.
We're doing Champagne, Alsace, Burgundy, and the Alps. We're doing the Alps too.
I don't want to do all that. I just did Champagne for a day, but I haven't done anything else in France.
I did Bordeaux for a day, and luckily the driver that we had was super cool and knew who I was, which I didn't assume anything. He was like, "Hey, I have a huge surprise for you. I'm actually the official driver of Louis Vuitton." So he's like, "Called in a favor for you." I was like, "Okay, cool." So we went to one place, which was amazing. And the next thing, I'm like at a gate, and I'm like, "Is that Petrus?" And we like pull up to Petrus, and the winemaker comes out, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And it was one of the most beautiful places. Like, you're just like, holy shit. Like, I get it. And I made enough money to be okay with like $3,000 bottle. And I would tell you, quality wise, the 3,000 is underselling. Like, it is so good when you taste a bottle that you're like, damn, this changed my life. Those bottles change lives, especially in the wine sense.
I've never had a sip of it.
Oh my goodness.
It's just like you buy $3,000 bottles of wine. You have one bottle of Petrus in your cellar?
No.
Okay. But we should fix that. That sounds amazing.
Sounds like
No.
I will say Petrus is one of the few brands at that elite level. Screaming Eagle, Petrus. I've never heard someone say a bad word about them. I know a few others that are the most expensive wines in the world. People have had good or bad vintages. I've read about someone trying a bunch of Petruses and say which one was better vintage wise, but I've never really had someone go, "Oh, Petrus is not that good." Or
they keep it for 20 years. So by the time you get it, it is perfect. What was crazy, I tried the 2018. So they had a certain amount of glasses, and it's hot in Bordeaux, right? And there's no AC in this chateau. So you know me, I'm a big sipper. So I just was like, I guzzled that thing. And the winemaker gave me a huge hug. And he was like, about time somebody wants to just drink the wine. And I was like, people spit this out? He was like, you'd be shocked. I was like, holy crap. He was like, here, try this one on me. I was like, yes. But I mean, it's just, especially because it's Merlot too. People don't even.
That's what I was about to say.
But the blue clay.
They're going to come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the old world is Goliath, Petrus. There's a few producers that a lot of people drink and spend money on, whether they know what they're drinking or not, just because of the brand. That's just Merlot in Italy and France, right? And you're going like, just ask some questions. Don't be afraid. Like, it's not. It is.
Yeah. Over 60% of the grapes grown in Bordeaux are Merlot. So it's like most time, if you get a Bordeaux blend, you're going to have Merlot.
Yeah. I think Cab Franc is coming back, even though it's obviously that's your grandpa's wine. But it's coming.
It's not helping it come back.
I'm saying it's delicious. No,
I've never heard.
I would say, I would just say that's just not as well known. Where your grandpa's, I've had plenty of that. But like we had one of the best ones I've had, and just in the New World was Walla Walla Gramercy Cellars. 15 was great. I think it was 13 or 15.
That was a
really
great
good
listener. A friend of ours in the wine industry that works at Christum, which is one of our favorite producers in the Willamette Valley, she saw that we were there and she texted Channing, because we were with the winemaker. She's like, ask him if he's got any of this distinct wine. And he's like, how do you even know about that wine? And that's what he brought out. And we were like, okay. Oh, and then there was, they also, Grenache can hit and miss for me. Not to be, I don't want to talk down on anything. Dude, they had a Grenache and we had a couple Grenaches there, and GSM, obviously it's in a blend, but that can be a really fun wine when it's done by the right people, the right hands.
Oh yeah, agreed. But yeah, that one, Grenache is wild because again, it just grows so much on the vine that like, if you don't tend it right or something, it can just become this sweet overripe thing or bland and made into good rosé. But I've had some right with you guys. Same thing when I was in Australia. Like I knew nothing about the sub-region. Everybody hears about the famous ones. So I would just have random people bring out stuff they've been cellaring for 20 years and waiting to share with somebody so they could show them what Australian wine really is like. And then they would bring out Merlots or Grenache. One of my favorite wines I ever had was it's got by Young Gara in McLaren Vale, the 2010 Grenache, 100% from like sandy soil. And it was like so interesting, complex, like had some chocolate notes, but like you would never describe it as a Grenache if I didn't tell you what it was. It was fascinating.
Australian wines are, for me, in my story, are either like, holy crap, this is the best, or this is interesting. Way over here, interesting. Where I'm just like, get this jungle out of my mouth. Like it's too big. There's no such thing as too big, but I'm saying it was too big and too ripe, I think. So it could have been the bottle, it could have been the producer. But then I've also had stuff where I go, holy crap, that is like luscious.
Agreed. I had one bottle. I was there. So the vintage I worked was 2018. I had a bottle that I found like in the grocery store. It's a really small town there. That was 2008. So we were at like a local Australian football match recently, and they were like, "Oh, that's the winemaker who made that wine that you just bought." And I walked up to him, and I was like, "Oh, hey man, like I just got your 2008." So surprised I could find it 10 years later. He's, "Oh, that was the big year." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He's, "Oh, we held it back for a little while." And then I was like, "All right, cool." So then I opened it up. It was the most tannic thing I ever had. So I left it open for 2 weeks and tasted it like every other day for 2 weeks. And it didn't really mellow out until 2 weeks down the line. It was like drinkable. And I was like,
was it Madeira?
No, but it wasn't even like at that point. Listen here, mate, put that back on the shelf.
Yeah, I was about to be like, I get it. And that's why nobody else in that area was buying it. I was like,
dude,
okay.
You're like 2050. Oh, it's as approachable.
Yeah.
To be a Grenache story for me, which not to be too much of a name dropper, but me and Channing and Chase, when we went to Walla Walla for our first time, we had a really good visit with Drew Bledsoe and Josh at Doubleback, and they're making some really good wines. And one of the Merlots I was speaking about came from them. But like for someone that has an athletic background who's done it right, I think he's someone that we respect a lot. But we went out to dinner with him, which was fun to say the least. And at the end of the night, we handed him the wine list, and I was curious what he would order. Like he's the king of Walla Walla in a way, right?
Oh yeah.
Like and we're at their local steakhouse. So the Walla Walla section in this wine list is probably the best that there can be in a sense. And I remember the producer, which I don't know if I should say or not, but he ordered a Walla Walla Grenache actually, which was like, whoa. He's like, I don't know that I've had this. I think it was Horsepower from Cayuse, and I want to try this Grenache. And for someone that loves their wines, he loves their wine, and he talks about all the great producers there. To see him order that wine always stuck out to me. I dug it. I was like, that's fun for us to try it, and to see someone that's like us being at a Willamette Valley restaurant and ordering a Gamay or a Syrah from Christum. There's some hidden gems out there, right? So it's always fun to explore places because you never know what you're going to see or get.
Yeah, I've read that he's doing it right in terms of trying to like do good farming and actually make great wine rather than just put his name on some project and say, I make wine. I've always kind of.
I thought his Merlot was one of the best wines we had, which changed my whole attitude towards it. I thought it was not more. I don't know. I would say I just use the word approachable, but like more drinkable and more holy crap. Like I don't mind cellaring this, but I could also leave this open for an hour and crush it.
For being youthful, it had some real nice elegance and finesse. We were like, okay. And Josh, their winemaker, who is the man, Josh McDaniel, and him and Drew have done a lot. They just bought an incredible property in the Willamette Valley. So just salute to them. They're awesome. But getting to share wines with them and go out with Drew and again, seeing him order that wine at the end of the night always stuck out to me. I thought it was cool.
So I know we've been chatting for a while, but I am curious, where do you guys in the Willamette, do you have favorite AVAs or sub AVAs right now? I know it's all interesting, but what are you guys drinking from there?
You want to go first or?
No, you can do it. You can say whatever you want.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
You should go first.
I think for me, there's some certain places, like some of my favorite places. This is hard.
It gets harder and harder too. Honestly, the truth is the AVA system and SS system, the AVAs are incredible and they've come up with some new ones. So I'm behind on the learning curve for a couple of the younger AVAs. But the beauty of it, when you get to know it, to try to think that you're just a Dundee Hills person, a Ribbon Ridge person, it's just not true. There is so many great producers. There's so many great vintages. There's so many great sites and sub blocks and things like this. The ability to try them. And then I think it's one of the greatest. I haven't been to Burgundy. I'm sure it's a great place to learn about Pinot Noir, but to have a what you think Pinot is, anything you think you know about Pinot, and you come to Oregon and you spend 3 or 4 days actually going to each AVA and try, your whole paradigm's going to shift. And then the quality of it consistently, you're going to go, wow, that's incredible. So it's a loaded question. It's a hard one. Do we have some favorite producers? Absolutely. Is there some sites in the Ribbon Ridge? Absolutely. Yola, Amity? Absolutely. I think the Yola, I always said Eola and they say Yola. I think that's like the wild, wild west. And there's it's bigger, it's further away. It gets real high elevations. You're getting out towards the Pacific Ocean. I think that there's some stuff going on out there that just, in Lingua Franca, Bethel Heights, Christum, Walter Scott, producers that are just.
I could probably tell you, I think if I had favorite bottles,
I work in the Dundee Hills, just to say that. I love the Dundee.
Yeah. So I think 16 Chardonnay from L'Angelo Estate was one of my favorite. 15 Beaufrère was one of my favorite. That's in Ribbon Ridge. I'm not gonna lie, I really like our 2020 Chardonnay. And I'm not hyping it up. I'm just saying I really like what that is.
We had a 2010 the other night that was great. That's such a trick question.
Again, but see, now I'm like, damn, I do like Antica Terra. 2018 was really, really good. But then also, I like Granville's 2020. Man, and then not even to get in the Pinot part, it's like, what do we have? 2013 Christum, 2016 L'Angelo was nuts. A 99 or a 2006 Beaufrère?
Both, hopefully.
Yep, the 20.
That 15 Sequitur was insane.
15 Sequitur, insane. Ribbon Ridge.
I guess what I was trying, rather than, I didn't mean to put you guys in a corner there, but I was thinking more of the soils too. I guess there's Jory soil, there's the volcanic soil, and the last time I was up there, we were at one of our stops was Adelsheim, but no matter where you were though, when you start like looking through those, you can start noticing the differences, just the soil type. So I guess that's what I was thinking. I was like, not just the AVA, but it's just interesting the distinct styles that can come out of Willamette
for sure.
Just by that alone. I think Jory's probably the hero soil, like on the most sites and on the most great sites. But yes, you'll go to certain sites and they have 4 different volcano eruptions on one place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are we fucking wild?
Well, it's just wild. Like when you're there tasting and you picture like a giant glacier lake, the ice just falling down and all of these pebbles just like rolling to the Pacific Ocean, and now you're drinking wine that was on top of that. Like whenever they told me those stories, I was like, wow, that's
If you haven't been to the Willamette Valley, I'm from California originally, and Channing's from Arizona originally. Neither of us probably had any idea we'd end up in Portland, Oregon for any part of our lives. We both raise our families here, all the things here, eat and drink and play here. Dude, the Willamette Valley, man, is one of the prettiest places in the world. People are dope.
If you go on your website too, it's all y'all in the Channing's stomping grapes in the pictures on the website. How involved are y'all? Do you try every time you can get up there and prune and do work? Are you doing that, or what does it look like? How involved do you like to get?
Yeah, I think there's a picture of you corking bottles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh God, fuck me. It still hurts. It still hurts. So the joy of us is that the joy in what's hard is that we can't be everywhere at once, because we source grapes from Walla Walla. We have somebody make our Syrah in Oregon. We have another wine make 2 wines for us here. We have Bubbles. We have something in Sonoma Coast, Napa Valley, right? So for us, we try to be as involved as necessary without interrupting the already due process, because we're just saying, we love what you do. Just give us a chance to do something that's uniquely ours. But our process does involve us learning about the place, talking to the guy, like to the winemaker, seeing what his ethos is. Does it work with us? Is it this type of soil? Was it a rainy year? Was it a hot year? If you were to try our 18 and 19 Pinot versus from Longolo Estate versus our 19 and 20 Chardonnay, there's a vast difference in how it's made. But that's what we want, because we want a true representation of that year. So if you have a 19, 20, 21, 22, you're going to say, holy shit, I love where this is going, because we're going to tell you what the difference was, right? We're informed on that level.
Speaking for myself, and one of the beauties of Chosen is me and Channing are who we are in general. Chase, one of our business partners, is a winemaker, owns a vineyard, has vineyard managers that we know. I've worked harvest before. I never want to do it again. To know who we are and what we want to be doing. Has Channing been involved in every capacity? I think it's usually like when athletes get involved with stuff, people think they just put their name on something. I don't know that there's anyone in our space, and I don't want to, it's hard to say that because we know other people in our space and we respect them and like them, but I don't think anyone lives this in any capacity like Channing Frye does. His hands-on approach on both business and the production of it, how inquisitive he is and how much he's learned. But if we got to go, we also started as a very small business. We didn't start this on a bunch of money and like partners and stuff. This was us just going like, can we do this? And how should we do it? And let's go for it. But so having to, like year one, he was corking stuff. Are we sorting grapes during harvest? Yes, if we can do it, but we rely on winemakers and vineyard managers and people to sort, like if something needs to happen, we have to run a business. So it just depends on where we can be. But I don't think there's like a part of this that we probably, and even for me, walking and pruning, I'm not a pruner, but have I been on site when things are getting pruned, asking questions? Absolutely. Where can we be and how can we be there? But me and Channing, there's what, since the beginning of this, we asked each other one question. We're like, you can come up with titles and all these things. And I'm like, the two things that we're not, and we get to play it, which is fun, but we're not winemakers. Fundamentally, I'm not a chemist. I'm not in a vineyard every day. I'm not in a cellar every day. Having business partners and friends that are some of my favorite in the world. Do you get more information than most? Absolutely. Like have me and Channing taken them out of their comfort zones to try blends they wouldn't normally try, to try more neutral oak with this wine. Have we gotten that opportunity? Absolutely. And thankfully, we've actually, with winemakers and ourselves, done a lot of blind trials and ended up liking the same things. So as business partners, choosing labels and art can be tricky. A lot of these things, we've been pretty spot on so far. So it's been fun. So we get to play it all. We just have to be smart about the business and try to get this thing out there so we can keep.
I think that's why it makes our business different, but it solidifies us as not perfectionists, but as experts, because we have 4 experts making the wines that they live that every day. And we get to use my expertise of these platforms and doing stuff like this to work with them, where their expertise and what they do every single day is making the wine. It's not Channing's wine. It's not like Frye wine. I'm not the winemaker, but am I there? Hey, when do you guys need me? I need you this day. We need to try this. Do you want to pick early? Do you want to pick late? Like I could pick this block. We could try this. We're involved in all those things for all these SKUs, which is mind-boggling sometimes to think about how much shit we're actually like keeping track of. Champagne, Napa Valley Cab, Sonoma Coast Pinot, Oregon Pinot, 2 Oregon Pinots, 2 Oregon Chardonnays, and maybe another Chardonnay, and maybe another Pinot. So it's like maybe a Gamay, maybe a this. And so it's just like we learn so much by living it on this side and getting the information to try and transfer to people who may not know as much on the other side.
Man, yeah, your involvement too, and for people to see you being involved, that has to do something for not only the next generation, right? Or maybe the next generation, whether it's athletes, whether it's folks in Hollywood and film, people with the time, money, and influence later in their career to move something forward, like you said, man, for folks to see you doing it and not just like slapping your name on it, to be involved in the vision, like that's huge for
whether it's wine,
making it more accessible,
exactly,
approachable.
Whether it's wine or you're into water or art or jewelry, just be authentic. Take a chance and bet on yourself, and then do the work. Like this is work, and I'm glad to do it. Yeah, but dude, it's work, but we love it. It like gets your blood going. And I love that. And I think it comes through. Hopefully it comes through our bottles, through the juice, through the quality, but through our storytelling. And if you have any question, if anybody had any question, they'd be like, hey, Channing, what does this mean? What is this? Why'd you do this? We can run through everything because we did this together. Right. It wasn't like I was just like, hey guys, go make a bottle. everything needed to have a story so that the whole bottle was itself and then a whole trilogy of things between where the grape came from, how it got in the bottle, and now how it got to your table.
Yeah. That's awesome. Man, before we tie things up, I want to hear you talk a little bit about some of these other collaborations y'all have done. Maybe share a little bit about the One Barrel Challenge, what you think, just, thinking about inclusion in the wine world. You have this diversity in wine scholarship program that sounds like you're involved with D Wade, Josh Hart, some other folks. I actually talked to someone last week or the week before who I think got one of those scholarships. And I didn't know the connection until we were prepping to get on the phone. But man, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about what it looks like when you say inclusion in this space and how you're making strides towards that end.
Oh, me? I think when you love something, you want to share with everyone. And it's time for us to stop hiding wine and start sharing it with everyone and start educating. And I think if as a Black kid from Phoenix, Arizona, I know anything about wine, right? And obviously most kids are going to lean towards people who look like them for the most part. Did I see any Black doctors? Did I see any Black dentists? Did I see any Black lawyers? Not really. And so maybe that affected my life and it went basketball, that, and I'm 7 foot, so that didn't hurt. But at the end of the day, if I could be a beacon for somebody to say, you know what, now Channing is normal, ex-NBA player. He's doing something that he's passionate about, that he loves, that he's starting from the bottom, right? And if somebody can come up to me who looks like me and goes, I'm really into plants and vines and viticulture. Hey, I'm trying to open the door for you. I'm trying to show you, take the chance, right? I've been warmly received in this wine industry, and I've loved the people that I've met. And people do want to reach out, but there's a disconnect between what they want to do and how they reach those people, because they're using the same avenues, right? They're wine farmers, right? They can't reach hundreds of thousands of people in a text or a tweet or an Instagram post or on TV. I can. So what I'm saying is, hey, people in this industry that I love, that I'm working with, want you to make this industry better. So allow me to be the in-between, right? When you see a bottle of wine that I like, email them, DM them. Hey, I'd love to work harvest. Hey, I'm 40 years old and I'm on my second life, and I've really always wanted to work a tasting room. Boom. Hey, I've always wanted to be a manager of a tasting room. Boom. Hey, I've always wanted to learn how to wine make. Can I follow you? Boom. We have those opportunities, and the people that I've had the opportunity of meeting and talking with, a lot of them are aligned, and it's been extremely welcoming that they want the industry to be and reflect everyone in America. And I think it's better for the business. I think you're going to get better stories. I think you're going to get better wine. And I think it's going to move the industry in the right direction. That'll be exploding for the benefit of wine.
Yeah, you asked, this could be another whole other podcast too. And the One Barrel Challenge was a very special thing, specific thing, and a mechanism that I think can help change a lot of things in the wine industry, or at least hold people accountable to do dope stuff, raise money, and make a difference and be impactful, helping people of color get in the wine industry. But I think our two biggest responsibilities as a brand, as human beings that love each other, hold each other responsible or accountable, and love wine, is how does Chosen Family help people fall in love with wine, learn about wine, drink wine, share wine, and become a consumer that's educated enough to make their own decisions? And then how on the other end do we disrupt, challenge, and challenge ourselves and everyone around us to put their money, time, and energy a little bit where their mouth is. So if you work in a winery and you have a barrel, everyone works in barrels. You don't have one barrel a year to make a unique wine out of, and 100% of those proceeds go to a local nonprofit that helps people, or something that we've thought of to help people of color. The Roots Fund does this. iBoy does this. Our Legacy Harvest did this. One Barrel Challenge. There's so much synergy in people wanting to make a positive impact in this industry on those sides, because forever, if we don't start by actually trying and doing, we are just a reflection of the past. And I think we're trying to move into the future. So it's like, how do we make this wine industry what we want it to be? Me and Channing's dinner table don't reflect that you have to look or a certain way to drink a certain something. So we just happen to be in the wine game. So we want to, again, it starts with us. Like these thoughts came from our own conversations and our own going like, what should we do and how do we do it? And then us going like, well, we have some friends in this industry and I think we have a little sway. What about this idea? And how about you hold me accountable? I'll hold you accountable. Then maybe we can start holding everyone accountable to start to try to find mechanisms and ways to make this industry better into the future. And I think those are our responsibilities. I think Chosen Family is going to live and die by standing by those. We're going to try to make great wines and share them with people. And as long as me and Channing are breathing, we're not going to stop trying to make this thing a little better for us and the people around us.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for shouting. That puts the ribbon on the whole, like the last 60 minutes of the conversation, because all of the energy that you bring to the wine stuff, that energy doesn't stop when you think about something like inclusion or bringing folks into the industry who weren't in it before. I think that, like you said, authenticity, the way you guys take it from A to Z, all the way from the wines to the way that you distribute them and who you're working with and not working with, man, that's how you do it the right way.
Oh, that's all for me. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, man. Thank you guys.
All right. That was our interview with Channing Frye and Jacob Gray. I hope everybody, whoever is still listening, I know this has been a really long episode, learned a lot in that episode and really fed off their passion for wine in general. It's crazy that 2 years later, a lot of what they're talking about is still so relevant and their brand is still growing so well. So everybody go check out Chosen Family Wines as well as La Mascaronne and Maison Cheaper. And we'll be back with a normal length episode next week. Cheers.
To check out our current offerings and to sign up for the Vint platform, find us at www.vint.co. That's www.vint.co. For questions, comments, or feedback on the Vint podcast, please email us at support@vint.co. Vint and VV Markets are offering securities pursuant to Regulation A. Our offering circular as amended can be found on the SEC website. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Investments such as those on the Vint platform are speculative and involve substantial risks to consider before investing. We may provide communication that may contain certain forward-looking statements that are subject to various risks and uncertainties. Information provided in any communications, including this podcast, is not legal, business, or tax advice. All prospective investors should consult a legal, tax, or business advisor concerning the subject matter of any communications and any offering.